Well, the stock market erased over $1 trillion in chip stock market value over the last 2 days alone. We're going to start off here with the Qs, the Nasdaq 100 ETF. It was down 35.55 on Friday, which was 4.8%, and down 33.25 or 4.5% on the week. This is the worst Nasdaq one-day drop since April of last year, so pretty dramatic move in here. We were watching this first level right here for 722, which was the May 14th high, to see if we could hold above it, and it didn't. It came right down through it. To me, the next level of key support is 696 in here. We'll see if it's going to hold. We closed where? 705.06. Now, when I look at retracements, and I'm talking about retracing the entire move from the March 29th low to the June 3rd high, okay, we're talking about 38% takes you down to 675, 50% takes you down to 652. So, those are fairly significant down here below. It's interesting, it gets you down here, when you get down to 50%, you get down close to that 55-day moving average in here. So that's where we sit with the Qs. Let's take a look at the Elliott Wave picture. Okay, let's pull up the Elliott Wave picture. So right now it looks to me like we have begun the wave 2 scenario in here, and I'm talking about minuet level wave 2. We're within the new wave 2, which is the second wave that just completed back over here at the end of March. And now I think we're working our way up, and we're looking for 5 waves. And this first wave just kept extending. Look, we only had 3 days worth of pullback here that occurred in May. That's it. So now we've got another 3 days. On a closing basis, we have 3 days. I doubt if that's going to be enough. If we are truly into wave 2, we're going to have multi-days, maybe even multi-weeks ahead of us in terms of the correction that's going to pull out. Look at the significant divergence that we were dealing with from mid-May into the early June high. So yeah, it's finally played out in here. So that's where we sit, and I'm looking for this to continue to come down. If the key level in here is if we take out this high, what is this high? 748.65. Then that's where this current scenario would fail. You can't have a wave 2. We're coming back. This is not going to be a big enough wave 2. If it ends at the low on Friday, which I sincerely doubt, and it turns and takes out this high, then this is continuing to subdivide higher, and this is most likely the end of a third within this first wave. But right now, I'm leaning heavily into the fact that I think this wave 1 is in the books, and we're working our way down in wave 2. Okay, so let's take a look at the SPY, and I'm going to look at the SPY only from just a moving average view, support and resistance, same kind of picture, almost identical. I mean, it came right down through the 749.53 area, which was the high of mid-May, and now we're sitting at 737.55. Let me take the crosshairs off. Somebody pointed that out to me last time. It is a little annoying. I can understand that. I was just so used to using the crosshairs to reference everything. I'll throw them back on when I need them. So we're sitting right here at 737.55. The next support level is 731. If that does not hold, and I'm not expecting it to hold, I'm looking at retracement levels down here of 38% gets you to 710, 50% gets you to 695. So to me, these are reasonable if we are truly in a wave 2, like I believe we are, just like I talked about on the Qs. Same scenario is going on here with the SPY, the S&P 500. Okay, let's take a look at the SOX index. So I'm going to pull up the Philly Semiconductor Sector Index Fund. I like the looks of this. It's really interesting. I was looking at this daily chart with my members, and I saw this, and I said, this looks like an Elliott, not Elliott Wave. It looks like a Japanese candlestick pattern of an evening doji star. The only problem with it was this was a white candle. And typically for the classic pattern, you want to see a dark candle on the right side of this thing for an evening star. Apparently, it didn't matter to the stock market because on Friday, here's what we got. And this was down, I'm looking at the data here, down 62.95 on Friday, down 10.4%. That's huge. Down 10.4% on an index fund like this in one day. Down 29.31 for the week. Now, we're seeing the divergences that were showing up in here between the mid-May to where we peaked. And right now, I think we've got more to go for this to play out. But an interesting index to watch, a country index to watch, let me go down and get it, is the Kospi index in South Korea. Okay, because this is so heavily influenced by the semiconductors. And, this is going to be opening, let's see if I can remember the times now. I think it's like 7 o'clock Central Time, Sunday evening, and it closes at 1:30 in the morning Central Time. So this Kospi index closed before we even, before we had any jobs report come out, and before the market really cratered on Friday, because it really sold off starting at around, right after the jobs report and the interest rates going up, the 10-year interest rates going up, and then everything just went and just completely sold off. Now, this impact right here, 2 days in a row, that is definitely post Broadcom earnings results, which I'll talk about here in a second. So yeah, we're going to get some continuation in here. The real interesting thing is what kind of price action do we get Sunday night in the Kospi composite? Okay, enough on that. Let's take a look at some of the stocks and and how they rippled through everything. So let's take a look at Broadcom. So here's Broadcom, ticker symbol AVGO. Broadcom had earnings out after the market closed on Wednesday, okay? And they didn't meet sky-high expectations out into the future in their forecast. So it is down 19.5% over the last 2 days into the close on Friday, and it literally closed just a few cents off the low of the day and the low of the week. Down 61.04 for the week. That is a very bearish engulfing looking candle for a weekly candle here on Broadcom. Pretty negative looking. But again, it's like any potential reversal type candle that you see, you need to see follow through. Now you had something like that over here, something similar, and you did get some follow through and it continued to meander lower. We'll see where we get this coming week. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to do is just mention some of the other semiconductor stocks that this rippled into right after that earnings announcement. So Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, same kind of thing happened, right? Last 2 days of the week, down 14% over the last 2 days, closing at 463.95. Pretty negative, down 49.72 for the week. And again, pretty negative looking candle here for AMD. Now, Micron Technology, MU. This was down 20% on the week over the last 2 days after that Broadcom result. And it closed at, let's see, 864.01 right here, 864.01. Down $106.99 for the week. And you think, well, that doesn't look too bad, right? Well, this is on semi-log because of the huge range that we have here in the scale. 106.99 is 11% for the week. So that's pretty good hit on MU. MRVL. Let me go, where do I have MRVL? I've got it in, there we go, right here. Okay, MRVL was down $52.96 on Friday alone. It closed Thursday at 316.43. This was down 16.7%. But what happened earlier in the week? Look at this explosion that happened into Tuesday. Why was this? If you remember, Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, was on the stage in Taipei, Taiwan, and was talking about the semiconductor industry and other companies, et cetera. And he introduced the CEO of MRVL Technology and said, the next trillion-dollar company. And the next day, it started in overnight and into the pre-market. It just exploded to the upside. And it went from a close on Monday of 219.43 to a high on Wednesday of 324.20. Just incredible move. Now, for the week, it's still up pretty nicely, actually, up 58.47. So that's the good news on MRVL. The bad news is the way it closed out the week here on a daily chart. So we'll see what happens to the next quote-unquote trillion-dollar company. So Jensen Huang, Nvidia, well, what happened with Nvidia? Let's see, Nvidia was down $13.56 on Friday, right here, and closing very close to the low on the day. This stock, and it was down 604 for the week. Now, interestingly enough, its decline did not start at after Wednesday's ER when Broadcom released their earnings out. It actually started late morning on Tuesday morning and started to reverse and kept heading south all week long. Lower highs, lower lows, and ending very close to low. Now, I'll tell you, this is getting to the point where, we could get some major support in here. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this get support right here at the 55-day moving average. Is just like 201. So it's going to be interesting to see. And when you come across and say, well, where's 201? Well, that's pretty much in the area where we got a lot of price support over in here from mid-April into early May. So I would say the 200, 201 on Nvidia is a key support level. If it closes well below that, very, very negative. Okay, enough on semiconductors. What's going on with oil? Okay, so let's go all the way back up here to commodities. We're going to talk about, look at oil and look at silver. So WTI down $2.50 in the futures trading on Friday, up $3.18 for the week though. This continues to look like a triangle, sideways type of triangle, trying to work its way out, and it's just kind of compressing, isn't it? Now, the Elliott Wave pattern I had identified in here, to me, seems to have failed. But it still looks like a triangle, so I'm really watching to see what happens. Do we take out this low, which is right here, 86.37, or do we kind of reverse and start to head higher? The moving averages are somewhat short-term wise trending lower, so that's a negative given where we're at. We'll see what happens here starting on Sunday night. Then I want to take a look at silver, SLV. Down $5.41 on Friday. Huge, big negative move. Down $6.76 for the week. So when I look at this, let me look back, scroll out a little bit. If this level right here, 60.37 doesn't hold, I think it's very negative. The Elliott Wave picture I've been holding as I was thinking this looks like a possible wave 4 end in here, and that we're trying to like maybe a leading diagonal type pattern for wave 1, and then we're pulling back for wave 2. But if this takes out this low, then there's no way that it can be a wave 2, right? So the other thing I'm looking at is, if I've got my wave counts correct, if we are, completed a minor wave 3 and have the waves that the way they played out in here, the fourth wave of one lower degree would be all the way down here in this area. So if we break this level, let me go back right here, 60.37, I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to head into the upper 40s and down here on SLV. This has just been unable to get any kind of significant rally turned around since the huge damage that was done back in the beginning of February. Okay, that's where we sit. Okay, one other thing I just want to mention, the equity put to call sentiment indicator that we track just gave a reading that we hadn't seen in 4.5 years. Go to joehenches.net. It's exclusive to members only. Check out the website, check out the membership. This thing is really interesting. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you on the next video.